Yeah, Daniel Dubois got himself some new posse, hasn't he? You know, he's been showing this woman off, you know, on his social media, you know, like some little love-struck virgin, you know, who's getting a taste of pussy for the first time. You know, he's showing her off to the world, innit, Daniel Dubois. You know, he's getting too emotionally attached to her, man. He don't even know her. He's only known her a couple of weeks. But he's getting too emotionally involved, you know what I mean? It's not going to end well, is it? You know, and he's probably going to spend his boxing money, you know, on her 3 kids. He's a bit naive, man. He's a bit gullible, isn't he? He's like a little kid, you know, at Christmas, all excited about getting a bit of pussy for the first time. You know, calling her Brazilian queen, it's... You know, he's sucking up to her too much, man. Women don't like that kind of thing, do they? But Daniel Dubois, he don't really know any different. He don't know any better, does he? You know, because he's not a man of the world. So this woman's probably going to fucking rinse him. She's going to milk him. You know, this woman here, yeah? She probably knows that he got paid £1.6 million, you know, for fighting Usyk. And he got £1.7 million for fighting Joe Joyce, you know, and he's got another big payday coming up, you know, fighting that junkie Jarrell Miller, you know, in Saudi. So she's probably just going to try and rinse him, and she probably knows that he's not a man of the world, you know, who's aware of what's going on. She probably knows that he's vulnerable, you know, and he's not really, you know, clued up enough, you know, to realise what's going on. Calling her Brazilian queen. You know, he's bowing down too much, innit, Daniel Dubois? He's simping. And that's off-putting to women. Daniel Dubois, like I say, he's not a man of the world, is he? So she's probably seen that he's a nice little cash cow, you know, for her to milk. And Daniel Dubois is too inexperienced in life, you know, to realise what's going on. You know, he's not a man of the world, is he, Daniel Dubois? You know Daniel Dubois, yeah? He's got a dad called Dave Dubois. And you know this Dave Dubois, Daniel Dubois' dad, he's like really strict and overprotective of his kids, you know, really controlling. You know, like Michael Jackson's dad. He was really controlling in it. He didn't allow Michael Jackson, you know, to go out and play and have fun with other kids. You know, Michael Jackson's dad used to beat him with a belt, you know, and tell him to sing and dance like a monkey. You know, when Michael Jackson tried to go out to play with other kids, he was really strict. So then when Michael Jackson grew up, yeah, he started having sleepovers, you know, with little kids, you know, to try and make up for all the time that he lost, you know, not having fun with children his own age. You know, and his dad was beating him with a belt and telling him to dance and sing. Michael Jackson didn't have a childhood, so that's why he started having sleepovers, you know, with like Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone and other little kids like that. So it's similar with Daniel Dubois, innit? You know, Daniel Dubois' dad's really strict and controlling. And like, Daniel Dubois, yeah, you know his dad, Dave Dubois. He said to Daniel Dubois and his sister, Caroline Dubois, "You're not training with Shane McGuigan anymore, yeah? I don't want him as your trainer. I'm going to get you another trainer." That's what he said to Daniel Dubois and his sister, Caroline Dubois. But, you know, Caroline Dubois, she kind of went against her dad's wishes and she stuck with Shane McGuigan. So you know her dad, Dave Dubois, he kicked her out of the house. Yeah, and he fucked her off, you know, and disowned her. But you know Daniel Dubois, he left Shane McGuigan, didn't he? And he went to go and train with that Don Charles. So based on that, you can kind of get the gist of what Daniel Dubois' dad's like. So going back to this woman here, yeah, Daniel Dubois was probably prevented from having a sex life, you know, by his dad, Dave Dubois, who was really controlling. So now Daniel Dubois, you know, he's got with this woman here, you know, and he can't wait to fuck her, you know, and show her off to the world, you know, because it's sort of like his first taste of pussy, you know, after his dad kind of did what Michael Jackson's dad did to him, you know, and prevented him from fucking women and stuff like that. But now Daniel Dubois is like approaching 30, you know, he's kind of starting to stand on his own 2 feet, you know, and he's hooked up with this bit of pussy here, hasn't he? But Daniel Dubois, you can tell that he's not really a man of the world. He's not experienced. You know, the way how he's like bowing down to this woman, Brazilian queen, you know, like some little virgin. And he's acting all grateful, you know, to be with this woman here, like a little simp. You know, like he's really grateful to have her, and he's, you know, he's putting her on a pedestal. You know what I mean? You know, he don't know how to act around women, does he? You know, because his dad, Dave Dubois, wrapped him up in cotton wool and kept him away from the real world. So it's like he's living in a fake existence, Daniel Dubois. So he probably don't know how to act with women, does he? You know, he's showing off to the world, innit, Daniel Dubois. It's kind of like Coogan, innit? You know what I mean? Like I said before, you know, when Coogan was a little nobody. You know, when he looked like that. When he was a little kid. You know, he didn't get any posse. But then when he set up his channel, IFL TV, you know, and he got the blue tick and the followers, that's when the posse started to come. You know, when Coogan built up his profile a bit, you know, he started to get posse in it because he's got a camera as well. You know, these ring card girls, he wanted to try and get in there with Coogan, you know, so that they could like get a bit of exposure and promote I don't think OnlyFans was around back then, but they wanted to get that exposure, you know, and still sort of like milk money off desperate simps, you know, fucking bow down to these women, just like how Daniel Dubois is with this fucking woman here. These women would like give Coogan sex, yeah, because he had a camera and a decent sized YouTube channel. You know, and it kind of reminds me of Harvey Weinstein. His story is very, very similar to Coogan's. He was like a big time Hollywood director, you know, and he had a lot of power, you know, in Hollywood. So he would say to these nice, young, attractive women, actresses, if you want to be in my film, yeah, and make a load of cash and boost your career, you know, you better give me some sexual favors. It's kind of like Coogan, innit? You know how Coogan used his camera and his platform, you know, for his own sexual gain. Do what you have to do, innit? I'm not hating on him, man. You just do it. I'd do the same. But I'm just telling you how it is. So, do what you have to do, innit? Do what you have to do, man. Posse's posse, end of the day. I'm just saying, this little Daniel Dubois guy, he's probably going to get exploited. So she's like wormed her way in. You know what I mean? And she's probably spotted vulnerabilities in Daniel Dubois. You know, like when he went down from a little jab from Usyk. You know, and he's done that a few times, hasn't he? You know, where he's just kind of like shown vulnerability, like against Joe Joyce. You know, and he kind of quit there as well. So this woman here, she's probably spotted some vulnerability in Dubois. Yeah, and she's probably aware that he's been paid, you know, some decent payday. So she's like wormed her way in. Daniel Dubois, like I say, he's not a man of the world, is he? Like David Haye, having threesomes and stuff like that. David Haye will say to a woman who's talking shit to him, shut your mouth. And then he'll say, do you want a threesome? And if she says no, he'll say, all right, fuck off. And he'll replace her, you know, with another woman. Yeah? David Haye, he doesn't put women up on a pedestal like Daniel Dubois is doing with this woman. Brazilian queen, you know what I mean? You know, putting stuff like that. Like, he shouldn't be putting her up on that level there. He's so happy and proud and grateful, you know, just to have a bit of posse by his side. You know, because his dad kept him so fucking wrapped up in cotton wool for years and years. So Daniel Dubois, you can tell he doesn't know how to operate, you know, with women like David Haye. I didn't used to like David Haye, you know, after that toe business. But, you know, when I started seeing photos of him with all these women, I started to rate him more. You know what I mean? I started to think, yeah, he's figured it out, you know, sexually. So I like him now, innit? But, you know, this Dubois guy is a bit fucking clueless, innit? You know what I mean? David Haye, yeah, has threesomes, and, you know, if a woman starts talking shit to David Haye, he'll just fuck her off, you know, and replace her with another woman and get her involved in the threesome. He'll have women on a conveyor belt, David Haye, because he's kind of like a man of the world, innit? But, you know, this Dubois, you know, you can tell he's not experienced enough. He's so happy and proud and grateful, you know, just to have a bit of posse by his side. He can't wait to show her off to the world, and he's simping. He's simping hard, man. So it's not going to end well, is it? You know what I mean? You know, like Frank Bruno. Frank Bruno was like that one. He was a bit silly and a bit dumb and a bit gullible. You know, and his wife fucking rinsed him, married him, divorced him, took most of his cash. And Frank Bruno, he ended up sleeping in his boxing ring, you know, in the back garden, because he went mentally fucked up and he got sectioned. You know, because he wasn't on the ball. He didn't know about life. He was dressing up in fucking pantomime clothes, saying, he's behind you. You know, that silly bullshit that Frank Bruno was involved in. So his wife rinsed him. You know, and he just ended up a mess, didn't he, Frank Bruno? And the same will probably happen to Daniel Dubois. Because he's not a man of the world, is he? You know, like David Haye. He's a bit uninteresting, isn't he? Daniel Dubois. The only thing that he said that's been interesting is when he was having a go at Joe Joyce's blind mum. That was quite funny, wasn't it? And quite interesting. But, you know, other than that, he hadn't really said anything, you know, of interest, Daniel Dubois. So he's a bit of a boring guy, isn't he? Because his dad didn't allow him to flourish, you know, and have life experiences and develop his own personality and character. His dad tried to keep him sheltered, so that's probably why he hasn't got a personality now. Chris Eubank Jr. used to be like that as well, didn't he? You know, when he first came on the scene, he was really boring, wasn't he? And uninteresting and dull, you know, and poker-faced. That's what he was like at first, wasn't he? Chris Eubank Jr. You know, his dad, Chris Eubank Sr. He used to do all the talking for him, didn't he? You know, when he first came on the scene, he was really boring, Chris Eubank Jr. and dull. But I think what happened was he went to go and train with Floyd Mayweather Sr. So he was around Floyd Mayweather Jr., you know, and he started to see how Mayweather Jr. was acting, you know, with women. I remember that switch, that change in Chris Eubank Jr. Because he used to be really stiff, you know, and boring. He didn't have a personality at all, did he? But I think him being around Mayweather, you know, and seeing that kind of flashy lifestyle of Mayweather Jr.'s, you know, it started to rub off on Chris Eubank Jr. So then all of a sudden he started posing with women and, you know, trying to act all flashy. You know, trying to hang around with fucking women and Dan Bilzerian and, you know, trying to live that playboy lifestyle. I remember the switch. You know, that little Chris Eubank Jr. He didn't used to be like this. He didn't. You know, he lacked personality, you know, when he first came on the scene. I remember the change in Chris Eubank Jr. You know, when he started being around Mayweather. Chris Eubank Jr., he started to get a bit sexual, you know, and like started trying to show off. You know, having photos taken with women and stuff like that. You know, trying to be all flashy and trying to be like Dan Bilzerian and Mayweather. You know, chucking money at strippers and stuff like that. But yeah, I much prefer this new Eubank, you know, compared to the old one. This one's a bit more interesting in it, a bit more sexual, a bit more entertaining. You know, compared to the old fucking boring Eubank. You know, this one's much better, isn't it? But yeah, what do you think of this new little Saudi show that they've announced? You know, with all these names on the show, what do you think of this fucking event here? You know, if Joshua's not going to fight Deontay Wilder, yeah, there's no point, man. He's fighting Otto Wallin, you know what I mean? It's like, bro, you know, if Joshua's not going to fight Deontay Wilder, he may as well just fuck off and just retire, man. Because it's like, they're both boxing on the show, aren't they? But, you know, if they're not fighting each other, it's just not that interesting, is it? So I'm probably going to do a video, you know, about this event here, but not really too interested in it, to be honest. Like I say, unless Joshua's going to fight Deontay Wilder on the show, I'm not really bothered. It's not really doing it for me. I know they've tried to like chuck in a load of names and that, trying to make it entertaining, trying to make it exciting, like, oh, look, all these names. But, you know, if they're not fighting each other, I'm not really bothered. But yeah, that'll do, you know. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in again, yeah. Thanks for that.